On this episode,
But people go to me and they say stuff about the Partridge or whatever, and I don't know how they recognize it. Well, don't I look a lot like Danny Partridge's grandfather who didn't live well? Because that's how I see I look in the mirror.
I remember that episode.
from the coveted corner booth in a little bar in the center of the Coachella Valley Universe, welcome to another big conversation with Patrick Evans and Randy Florence. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Howard. We are back here at Skip Paige's Little Bar at the center of the Coachella Valley Universe. I am Patrick Evans, my dear friend and tremendous, most researched co-host in the history of co-hosts. Randy Florence is once again with us. Cheers, Randy.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. John McMullen, our producer, ably manning the board, and we are our in-house counsel, Alan Horowitz, is back once again.
So we don't get in trouble.
It's good news. We have a tremendous guest. This is so cool.
We do.
Usually you and I kill about 5 minutes just bullshitting, but we're not going to do that because I want to get right to our guest this time around.
Me too.
Danny Bonaduce is here.
That guy.
Danny Bonaduce.
You just moved to Palm Springs. You were up in Seattle.
Yeah, for a dozen years.
Yeah, a long time, and decided now I'm done. And your wife said you're moving to Palm Springs.
That's exactly what happened. You don't even need me for this part. That's exactly what happened.
Well, we've got 49 more minutes to go, so come up with something else.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
Thank you so much for doing this, and
my pleasure.
How are you settling into the desert lifestyle?
It's an easy place to settle into. We've got, I'm not sure how long we've been here, 3, 4, not 6 months. But we bought the house and couldn't move here because I hadn't retired. I had a radio show to do every morning. And my wife's been coming here for 25 years. And she said, this is where we're going. This will be the best thing for you. And we bought a house on a place called Araby Cove, wonderful street. They referred to it in something I was looking online as the Laurel Canyon of the desert.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's nice.
Everybody's smoking weed, riding bikes.
Yeah, listen to Joan Baez tell us stories.
Yeah. So that's where you bought.
Yeah, absolutely bought.
I've been following you guys on social media, and you're like... You're hitting every spot in the valley.
Yeah,
so it's like in the first 6 months, you want to see everything you could possibly see.
Well, I just want to know where I go. I want to have a favorite restaurant. I don't drink anymore. By the way, can I commend you guys on thinking, Danny Partridge, a notorious alcoholic. Let's ask him into a bar. Ask him a bunch of weird-ass questions in a bar. That'll be the best thing for Danny Partridge.
Well,
we did have a conversation about that, actually.
I thought you might.
I was like, should he come here? I don't know.
I've done a couple interviews in pharmacies. Also not a great idea.
Well, Big Conversations at CBS is next week. So I want to ask you something that we have in common. I'm relatively newly retired.
Good.
How are you doing with it? I mean, you moved into retirement for a reason.
Yeah, I got real sick, which is weird for me. I don't usually get sick.
Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
I don't mind talking about anything.
Oh,
man.
good.
Yeah, whatever you got. I'm settling into it quite well because I know a couple people that just flat out hate it, and they tell you. I said, so you've been retired. How do you like it? Oh, I hate it, man. Every day I wake up and think of something to do. Well, it's only been a little while for me. I'm fine with it. I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, I have not found a reason to hate it yet. Yeah.
You were doing morning radio.
Yeah.
And that's a tough gig.
Yeah, it is. 4:30 every morning.
That's a tough gig for kids. I mean, people close to our age, and I do morning television, so I get
seen you plenty of times.
Well,
big fan.
It's tough. So you did that for a long time. That was 11 years in Seattle.
Yeah.
But you've been in a number of places.
Yeah. It's weird because at first I thought, well, why can't I keep a job? I'm good at this. All the mail says I'm good at this. But what it was, and they were happy to finally tell me this. They said, I go to markets that are tanking and terrible, and I fix that, but then they send me somewhere else. Like the radio station can now take care of itself. It doesn't need Bonaduce's ramblings.
So you're the fixer.
That's apparently it. Yes, I am the fixer.
And it's because you can make anybody funny and interesting for 15 minutes.
That's what I've heard, although I failed at that once.
One famous incident that didn't go well.
Well, I was doing a TV show with Mario Lopez and Dick Clark, and another guy whose name escapes me, but I'm sure he's a fine human being. And,
He must have been a really big part of that show.
and Dick is the, he's royalty in this kind of thing. And Mario, who is surprisingly good at it, I was shocked by this. We're about to do one of the first episodes, and you could see he was terrified. And I thought that would be really funny. I thought, your future relies on this. And, he was, he's just there. He couldn't be more beautiful, but he's shaking. He's, he doesn't ready to do this. And I said, just go out and follow me. I'll take care of you, man. And they went 1, 2, 3, go, and called us in. We went in and we sat down. And the guy was great. He was really good at it. And I was a bit jealous because I don't get to look like that.
He's got the best dimples in the area,
in the
doesn't
town.
he? Oh,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God, yeah. Yeah.
Take it easy, Randy.
I'm sorry. Mario's a cute guy.
He is a cute guy. Maybe it went a little heavy on the fillers in the last couple of weeks.
Well, thankfully, I've lost some of my vision, too, so
Oh, okay, I'm good on
it's
that.
all coming together at one time.
But people go to me and they say stuff about the Partridge or whatever, and I don't know how they recognize it. Well, don't I look a lot like Danny Partridge's grandfather who didn't live well? Because that's how I see I look in the mirror.
I remember that episode.
It was funny because this has happened once or twice more. My wife and I were in Italy and we're taking a tour, and it's really cool. And the lady tour guide says, do you know who you look like? Well, I get this 20 times a day if I'm out and about. So I know the answer, but I wait. And she says, Picasso. You look just like Picasso. And I looked at her and I do. I look just like Picasso, which is weird because he's way dead. But aside from that, I look just like Picasso.
We might
I'm sure
have
she meant you look like him when he was alive. I'm sure. I feel certain.
Yeah.
So I want to go way back. And I want you to tell me, is this true?
By the way, yes.
Yes.
I don't need to know what it is. It's true.
If there's a story about Danny that you heard that's outrageous,
Your father did some writing.
Ton of writing.
Ton of writing.
he
Super
wrote for
talented
the
guy.
Dick Van Dyke Show.
But he
that's the
also
first thing.
said that acting was one step below pimping.
I'm 10, maybe 11 years old, and I'm on the way out the door. Now, the Partridge Family's not like just a sitcom. We had gold albums. We had David Cassidy and his puka shells. So right after the first episode of the Partridge Family, people were in our front yard. They had signs. I love Danny. Tell Keith I love him. Just like crazy, crazy stuff. And so this is what I know. Everything's going to be cool. This is how my life now goes. I'm 10. I'm cute as hell. And I'm about to go out and face the crowd, and my dad grabs me. And he looks at me and my dad growls. He had a great growl. And he said, remember this. Acting is one step below pimping. And then pushed me on the other. I'm thinking, I guess I didn't think this then, but I'm 11, Dad. I don't even know what a pimping means. I don't know what you're talking about.
But he didn't like actors.
He didn't like anybody.
Oh.
But he may or may not have. Bonnie Franklin from One Day at a Time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote some episodes, good ones. He's a great writer, bad guy, great writer. And she said, hey, Bonnie, that's what they called him, Bonaduce. Hey, Bonnie, can I just change this line right here? And my dad said, no, my lines are carved in stone. Oh, man, this guy was wild to watch. And so Bonnie Franklin said, yeah, okay, whatever, man. But then changed it. And my dad, while the show's going on, there's 300 people in the audience, he goes, never, and walks up and pushes up against a wall. And some guy clocks my dad on the side of the head to move him along. And you just don't, and he's a tiny little guy too, like 5'2". He wore lifts, I think, but yeah, you just didn't, because he was so convincing, he's a little guy, but he was just so convincing that he would kill you in 1,000 different ways. Well, my dad went, okay, let's avoid this guy for a little while.
Was he not a happy guy?
No. He was not a happy guy, and he was not happy that he had a famous son. He just wasn't happy in general.
Yeah.
Did that make, you had a difficult childhood.
Yeah.
By all counts.
By all accounts. But, a big fuss is usually made over that. I'm sitting here and you guys are things like, we're lucky to have you. It's great to have you. It turned out okay.
Yeah.
It turned out great.
It did. And by the way, because I was a little guy with red hair and freckles, and people think this is an obscene correlation, but my dad would swing right and pretty hard at a kid. It was a drag and he shouldn't have done it. But I was the toughest kid you ever met anywhere because I'd look at tiny little children my size think, you can't hurt me, watch this. So there's a benefit to Joe Bonaduce.
Yeah, well, one of them was you got hit in the face by Jose Canseco and you stayed on your feet.
God love you. Okay, we had the weirdest dynamic. We were doing celebrity boxing.
Yeah.
And Jose Canseco was one of the actual celebrities. Usually, it's, no offense, the weather guy from Tallahassee.
Well, I've always hated that guy.
Yeah, he's a dick.
Ever since he hit you.
He's an ass.
So I'm in the ring with Jose Canseco. I'm 5'6", 165. He's 6'6", 265. It's just obscene that this is even happening. But in celebrity boxing, there's no rules. So I think, okay, I've never been hurt boxing. Never, not once. Never been knocked down. I'm ready to go. So this monster walks in the ring, and I think to myself, I got this. Didn't concern me for any time at all. I said, I got this. Because I've never been hurt. Guys have tried. So the bell rings, and I walk over, and he punches me in the face so hard, I couldn't believe it. And I went all the way across the ring, and I'm thinking, so this is what it comes down to. This is going to hurt, and a lot. So I look up, and he should be on top of me by this time. I'm over the corner against ropes. He's still in his corner, not doing anything.
Was he shocked that you stood?
I don't know. We didn't have a big conversation at this point. But I ran up, and I did the best thing I could do. I put my head right into his chest because that was the level, and I'm leaning into it, and I'm beating his body. It's relentless how hard I'm hitting this guy. And I look up, and I think, well, he's going to fall down now. And bang, 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 gets his ribcage. And I look up, he's talking to someone. He's having a conversation with somebody.
Through his phone.
I couldn't believe it, man. Have a little respect. But I told him before the fight, because he was so big, I said, normally I talk about how I'm going to kill you, knock you out in the third round, blah, blah, blah. It'd be ridiculous for me to talk to Jose Canseco about how bad I'm going to hurt him. So I didn't. I said, if at the end of that, I think we did 2 or 3 rounds. I said, at the end of the fight, I'm still on my feet. You lose. You couldn't knock down little Danny Partridge. You're 1,000 feet tall, covered in muscles and tattoos. And apparently, I won.
And he was impressed that you stayed on your feet.
He was. So was I, man.
I bet everybody was. That's pretty cool. Did you have the same thing with Barry Williams?
No, I just killed that guy. It was sad. Because, again, no rules. It's celebrity boxing. It's not boxing.
And Barry Williams from
the Brady Bunch.
Those are the two sides of the coin. I mean, it was the Partridge family and it was the Brady Bunch. And they were all goody two-shoes nerds.
Right.
And the Partridge family was this, killer band.
Alice probably could have taken somebody out.
Not that
Alice.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think it was what was the butcher's name? Sam the butcher
Sam
who
the
went out with
butcher.
Alice.
Yeah.
Sam.
Yeah, there was something going on there, wasn't there?
Well,
although I don't think she played on his team. Not positive.
No, that's true. But
he was selling her meat.
Did you wait all day for that?
Was there a comma? Was there a comma in that
Sam the
sentence?
Butcher, and I'm going to say that's where she got her meat, and everybody's going to howl. Well, that did not work out well for you, did it, young man?
No, it didn't.
The best sign I've
Tell her
ever
have
seen.
to play for me, Dad.
Morgan Hill, California. I'm driving down the street. I pass a meat shop, and it said, big sign says, "Nobody beats our meat." It was one of the best signs I've ever seen.
There you go.
Yeah, so there you go.
So you just killed Barry Williams.
To the point of not being fun, because he would.
He was serious about it too, wasn't he?
He was training. We're all training.
Was he mad?
At what time?
At the end, was he mad? What happened?
He didn't. To be honest with you, he didn't speak that clearly at the end of that fight.
Yeah, I bet.
He's bigger than me, and so we go to the ring, and I know that he's training, and I know his trainer, Freddie, a huge trainer, Tyson's trainer, all those guys. And they're inundated with ex-child stars fighting. It's like they couldn't have hated us more. But we paid, and we got their icon on TV and stuff. And so he says, this is not really my thing, Barry Williams. And I said, okay, don't worry about it. And they get out and they belt. They say, the two of you come to the corner, we do the thing. And the bell rings. And I'm trying to carry him because he's a decent guy, and he's a nice guy. He's been way over his head to be doing this, and not just with me, but mostly with me. Big mistake to be in a ring with me. I'm going for my dad. I'm a savage. So the bell rings. I'm trying to carry him, and people start to boo because it's obvious that I'm carrying him. I'm trying to do jabs to the stomach. It's a dumb thing, and he's much bigger than me. And so finally, I don't know what the core of most entertainers is, but you start to boo. I got to correct that. And they started to boo. And so I tag him. Down goes Barry Williams.
Down goes Barry. Down goes Barry
Williams. But he doesn't go down for the count. He goes down essentially forever, and they wait because there's no rules. They pick him up, put him in the corner, and we go to essentially round 2. And now I'm into it because I'm beating Brady. It's a fun title for something. So I knock him down again. No 3 rule. Boom, he's falling. And I'd love to say, no, I was getting sick, but I was loving it. Okay, there's an audience of a few hundred people. We're on Fox television, and I'm just beating some guy. And I'm on a million roids at this point. And I go after him so hard. And they're picking him up off the floor, and they raised his hands. And I felt bad for him, but we've done a couple of things together since, and he's a pretty good sport. We did this horrifying movie called Bigfoot, where they couldn't figure out the animation.
I remember that movie.
Yeah, that was who was apparently in part of this thing was unkillable. So they fire rockets at Bigfoot, but they hit me, And as the smoke clears, I step out. An F-18 shoots me in the chest, and I walk right out of
you brush it off.
I do. It was awesome. I had a little Brady on me.
Brady, I got to see that. Did any of these people know when they stepped in the ring with you that you were a black belt?
No. Oh, yeah, no, I brag about that all the time. It's hard to do. I've done a couple of things that were, because I don't do that much that is hard to do. I'd like to. It's not great sounding, but I'm, reasonably good actor. I'm very good on the radio, and I'm the only guy.
You are very good on the radio.
Thank you. I'm the only guy I know that does a 4-hour talk show with no prep at all. I go into the thing and I said, all right, what are we doing? And some producer says, well, this was in the paper, so I'll go with that. And then I go. Yeah, so so I've done a few things that were difficult to do, but beating up Brady's was not one of them.
That wasn't it. No. That wasn't. All right, let's dial it back to the Partridge Family years, and because I want to kind of examine this because you remained very, very good friends with some of the cast.
Yeah, very good.
And like David Cassidy, you guys were extremely close.
Well, he did something because everybody says, "What was it like hanging out with David Cassidy?" I say, I was 10, he was 20. There's laws against those kind of relationships.
Even then.
But I got arrested for some such thing. I don't even know what that one was.
I like you glossed that over.
Well, it's not a sole event. It's not the only time I got arrested for something stupid. There were like 6 of them.
We'll have you back on.
No, David Cassidy calls me up. My name's in the paper as this ludicrous criminal, and it was not that big of a deal. I won another fight, to a kind of excessive level. I hurt the guy. I didn't mean to. He's bigger than me. And anyway, you can ask me about that later. I'm happy to tell you. But David Cassidy calls me up, and he goes, Danny, I'm shocked to be hearing from David Cassidy. He said, I don't even know how he got my number. He's not a big enough name anymore to call my agent to call Danny's agent. I don't even know how he found me. But called me up and he said, you're the funniest guy I know, but now you're kind of the joke. And I thought, well, I'm going to beat this guy up later. You can't talk to me like that. And he says, I want to go on tour with you. You'll be my opening act. And we'll go on tour, and by the end of it, I guarantee you'll have a job. I said, all right, whatever. And he said, but here's the rules. Because I've been waiting my whole life to go on the road with David Cassidy. Come on. And he said, on the bus. I'm on a bus with David Cassidy. Can you believe it? So he says,
Again.
Here's the rules, man. There'll be no drinking, no smoking, no drugs, and no women. And I said, no, I'm not going. Who would agree to that?
That's a terrible rule.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those are bad.
Do you pitch all your ideas are this bad?
No wonder you're looking for me.
I said okay, because he was going to pay me like $1,200 a week, which was a fortune. I was in big trouble. I was indicted for important stuff. This could have gone really bad. And so I accepted his challenge, and we did it. And the last radio station, so it's got to be like 88, 90, I don't know. Last radio station, I go in, I do essentially this with a team called Welch and Woody. I go in, I do this, and when I come out, the general manager, a wonderful man named Dave Knoll, says, you're real good at this. Would you like to stay? And I thought he meant for the rest of the day or something. Luckily, he said, listen, you'll join that show, Welch and Woody, then we'll train you to be a disc jockey, show you where the lights and the levels and what they mean. And I said, okay. And he goes, I got to tell you this. We've only got $65,000 a year in the contract. And I thought he was bragging. I'd never, Partridge I made $400 a week and only for 26 weeks a year. 65 grand. Are you kidding? What else? If it's weird, I'll do it. Whatever it is. And he said,
I only have to pay you $65,000 to do it.
So
is there an animal involved? I don't know. It's okay.
It is okay. Everybody frowns on that. So I did it, and the rest is history, I guess. And now at the culmination of this, I'm here with you guys.
Wow,
that's cool.
So. Go back to the Partridge. $400 a week.
Yeah, it's only 26 weeks.
26 weeks. So you did 26 episodes. That's it. What? Were there residuals in those days?
Nope. No, there were, but we just didn't get it. The Partridge Family character Danny Partridge knew money, knew investing. That was a theme they had coming up. The real life Danny Bonaduce didn't know anything about that. And the cool thing was there's a Jackie Coogan law where some of your money is automatically saved.
Yeah.
So you get it when you're 18. When I turned 18. I was living in a house. My mortgage was $600 a month, which I couldn't find. And then no residuals, no nothing. So I had 72 grand as a culmination of all the work. Because I did a lot of stuff besides the Partridge Family. And I thought, you know what? I can either eke this out for maybe a couple of years, or I can spend this on a weekend in Vegas. I chose wisely and went to Vegas.
Well,
and the reason being...
As anybody would.
Well, here's the thing, man. I didn't know that much about what's going on in the world. I was ridiculously famous and completely broke. It's a weird dichotomy. So I went to Vegas, spent all my money, came back, and then I worked over the next 14 years, from 14 to 28. I worked 11 days. That's hard to you say mortgage payment of $600, not that bad. When you have nothing, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot. I had a Volkswagen, about a 1971 Volkswagen bus. And I lived in that off and on. I had a family. I could go and get it. My sister would always good for $20 or buy me a shirt or something like that. But I could go places. Just the Bonaduces take too much after my dad. It's like, it's a little... it's crazy to be around too many Bonaduces at one time. So I went out to my bus.
The reunions are...
What was... did your dad and you ever reconcile?
No.
No.
And I feel bad in a way about that because, the way he decided to raise his children was wrong. But in the end, he lived in a house with a bunch of other people. He suffered a really debilitating stroke. And he lived in this little house in the San Fernando Valley. And by that time, I was making real dough. And I could have changed his life and made him a little more comfortable, and I didn't. I chose not to. Nobody said no. None of my siblings said, well, that's bad. You shouldn't do that.
Well, they didn't either, though.
No, that's very true.
How many siblings do you have?
3. There's four little Bonaduces. And they're an odd group of people. But now we're all old. Like the thought of real violence breaking out. And besides, my brother Anthony's a little over 200 pounds, but he's 3 years older than I am, and now I have fought Jose Canseco. And
who's going to touch you now?
You got to know that I will kill you if this comes up, but it doesn't come up again. We're all resigned to that. We're going to see my brother in Mexico, Anthony, and they rented a Airbnb or whatever it is. They rented a couple of them for all our family. And I said, are you mad? You think I'm going to go down to Mexico and stay in a house with you guys? I'm getting whatever the best hotel in Oaxaca, Mexico is. I'll be there.
It's really good, I'm sure. Are you guys close? Particularly you and your 3 siblings?
Well, it's weird.
Because, again, we go back to your dad not being a great guy, not being a great dad.
But being a great talent. You can't take that away from him. He would, I'll just say this, and you can finish your question in a second if you don't mind. My dad wrote all the shows that he wrote in the master bathroom of our house. And when you
What?
Yeah, he sat in the bathroom and he wrote shows, good shows. He actually had to hide the shows because he didn't want the people at the studio to know he could write a sitcom that fast. He'd write it in 3 days and hold it away for another 3 days, and then go back saying, "Oh God, it was so hard, but I finally got it." The guy's a genius. He's just also a huge dick, but you can't hold that completely against him. Anyway, I interrupted your question. What was it?
No, it was obviously you all had the same experience with this incredibly talented dad who was a jerk to all of you.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like you were there.
And how did they come out of all of this?
They've been through it. My brother John, he decided to go back to school at 68 and get a PhD. Like, who does that?
Wow. Oh, my God.
His major or his thesis or whatever that is was digging into the world's worst mythology. And I said, what the hell did you do that? And he raised his hand and went, for the money. like there's a big market for whatever he was. My sister, she wrote a couple of good shows too, but she's written, I think, 11 books. They're like young teen books, and they're about families on the beach, some crisis of some of them. I've read a couple, and they're really, really good. But like my dad, she just bangs them out. They say, okay, that's great. The publisher, whoever that is, says, yeah, now do this one. And she went, okay, yeah, okay, and she'd write it. She did one. Dig how clever my sister is. She did a book called The Renaissance of Venice Beach. And she wrote a book about Venice Beach, and that was one of the more highly anticipated books there. So it's a talented group. My brother Anthony, the one I want to beat up someday, his wife, who's much like my wife, she guided you through the day because you don't know how to do anything, man. Your taxes might come up and you'll flee the country. So Anthony didn't know what to do or how to do it, and he told my family in a big, important speech how he was going to go to Mexico, Oaxaca, which was Molly's favorite place, and I'm going to drink myself to death. And my family went, well, no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
I said, that's a great plan. That is exactly what you should do. You should go to Mexico and drink yourself to death. The point of being me saying yes to a brother who I love, you can't really do it. It's so hard. I've tried. And I can still go to work in the morning. I get up at 4 o'clock and I'm sick to my stomach and I drive myself up to work and everything's fine. I don't know, a couple guys maybe have done it. But I didn't think he had what it takes to actually drink yourself to death in a far country. And then the guy just built these towering condominiums. Like, who knew he could do that? And they're great. They're very sought after.
Well, that's where you should stay. One of his,
No.
Talk a little bit about tell me about the depth when you were drinking and then getting up every day, because again, what we talked about, morning radio is difficult.
And if you're sober and in shape, it's still really hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
Was none of the above. So yeah, it's a hard life. It really is. And when I retired, I didn't see as much of the reason to retire as my wife did. She has was it power of attorney or something over there. She goes, I'm gonna end up using this because you're gonna have to be confined somewhere. You can't. And I don't mean to brag because I don't really care how long celebrities have been sober, but I've been sober 13 years now.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And that was just such a great eye-opening thing. And now I don't do the 12-step or anything else like that. I take a pill. It'll make you so sick if it matches with alcohol. Ooh. And it works. I take it every day, and it lasts weeks. So, yeah, I've tried to relapse, and I just got too sick. I'm on this pill.
It's not worth relapse.
But it's so bad. You start in the sick part, your eyes burn. It's like a terrible, terrible allergy. And this was said to me in one of those AAs or whatever I've been through. Somebody said this, and I hate to steal it because I don't think it's as funny as he thinks it was, but he said, I'm allergic. Asked him about drinking, and he said, I'm allergic to alcohol. Every time I drink, I break out in handcuffs. That's good,
man.
Not a bad line. You know, drunks have some of the best lines, you know?
They just don't remember them later. Yeah.
All right, so what was, you said you were indicted for some pretty serious stuff.
Which time?
The first time.
Oh, God.
Let's go there.
I don't think that one is that bad. I can't really remember.
Pick the one you remember.
All right, what was the worst?
The worst was I got in a fight with a guy in Phoenix, Arizona, and he was bigger than me, and I've told the story a couple of times. It's not one of my proudest moments, but I knocked him down, and he started to get up, and I said, I can't let you up. You're too big. I can't be generous right now. And I said, just don't get up. We'll call this a night, and he did. And I may have hit him one or two more times than he really deserved. I feel bad about that.
Did you find that you were a target in public?
A couple of times. I truly believe somebody wanted to instigate me. So, I'll tell you, Palm Springs is so far removed from Los Angeles. I'm afraid of everything in Los Angeles. We bought a ladder the other day, my wife and I. And it was in the backyard when we decided to call it a night because I had to do whatever I had to do on a ladder. How silly. Anyway, so we went into the house, we were relaxing, and I said, you know what, we can't leave that ladder out there. I said, why? And I said, because somebody's going to come into our backyard and they're going to fall off it, and then they're going to say that he was enticed by the ladder. And that's a real case in Los Angeles. It's a real lawsuit. And the burglar, whoever he was, won. He won. You left it out. You invited him. There was a crime spree going on in Los Angeles where people were dressing up like ballets. And you pull up to the place and they'd take your keys and they'd wander up and they'd go and they'd steal your car. And the thing was, you volunteered the keys to your car. He didn't actually steal it. And they'd fight in court and they'd get their cars back. But that's a real thing.
Oh, my God.
Now, you might see me hanging around your backyard sometime, so
you'll be stealing my wife's
that ladder out there.
Randy likes a ladder.
Yeah,
He'll use a ladder.
I want to know, well, did we get to all of the indictment stories that you wanted to tell?
I didn't ever say I wanted to tell these. That one was a bad one.
That was a bad one.
What he said was there was nothing off limits.
Nothing off limits.
I did. Because I don't want to say I'm an open book. Who cares if Danny Bonaduce is an open book? But I'd be silly to be chugging along doing the things that I do these days and say, oh, no, I don't want to talk about that. I don't even think celebrities, and believe me, I'm on the C- list, but celebrities on the side, I don't think they have a right to say to somebody, oh, I don't want to talk about that. We made you. We paid our $11 or whatever it is now to see you in the movie. I don't think you don't get secrets from me.
Yeah.
And also, and this I take it back because I think Tom Cruise might not get away with this. I think that hats and sunglasses are a mistake. You're famous. We made you famous. Make our day. Sign a thing with your name, for God's sakes, Tom.
Smile, wave, shake a hand.
Yeah. Although somebody, I guess, on the level of Tom Cruise, they make it a big thing about Taylor Swift and her private jet. Would you like to go to the airport 5 minutes after Taylor Swift said, I'm going to the airport? It'd be mayhem. You can't. So she takes a flight. And I would say they yell at her for that's the most non-green thing you can do is take a private jet. Well, then invite a couple of friends, for God's sakes. Don't do it alone. Take people.
Yep.
She takes most of her crews, so she's doing the right
She
thing.
seems great to me. She's really nice to me.
How difficult was it? I mean, following the wild success of the Partridge family, musically and on television. I mean, you guys were like, let's equate it to the Monkees. Like, these guys.
The Monkees could actually play. They take a hit. They can actually play.
That they did recruit musicians for the Monkees.
David and Shirley, right, were the two that
sang. David sang. He didn't do the guitar, although he could have. Pretty good musician.
And Shirley was a good singer.
When you go into Shirley's house, her Academy Award is sitting right there. You can't miss it. I like that. And she came to a reading one time, and I was being unruly, and I was telling the kid that played Chris, I'm going to have him fired. I got a very big head. And she came into this reading and slammed down her Academy Award and said, I'm going to have you both fired. I went, she really could do. She's got an Academy Award, man. Maybe we should stop bickering. And they did. They ended up firing that kid.
They did?
Yeah.
Why'd they fire?
Because he was a dick. He was the worst kid in the world.
he had a dick thing in his contract, and
everybody hated him.
You have to be careful about that. In the Harvey Weinstein days, you can't say you had a dick thing in your contract. You can't say that.
You're absolutely right, man. Well said.
When did you work with Elvis?
Oh, good call. Because that's, I got a lot of stories.
Yeah.
It's been a long life, and I'm good at telling stories. I love telling stories. But that's the showstopper, and I wasn't even the Partridge Family yet. I did this, I did that, and then I did a movie with Elvis, and everything stopped.
What?
Yep. You're the guy, and they had a lot of questions about that. And I will tell you this, and it's dead cold true, but you're not going to believe me, and then I'll correct myself. So he liked me, and other kids. The show was about a circus, and there are other kids on it. And he just, at the end of it, gave me a car. Now, you ready for the part where I straighten that out? It's a push car. It was a show that had a bunch of kids in it, and he gave us all one. But still.
It was a Cadillac, too, right?
I thought it was a Cadillac or whatever those things are. But I got a car, and that's a real thing, man. And Elvis, with the permission of my mom, said, you want to see something great, kid? And although I don't think he sounded like that. Go to street, no, can't do it. I want to see something great, kid. And I went into his dressing room, and all the handles of everything, and the faucets and the cabinets, were ladies' legs made out of gold. Come on, how cool are you, Elvis Presley?
Man.
Wow.
Did you have any clue what you were in front of, Elvis Presley?
I had a clue, but I didn't know. My wife is drastically younger than I am, and she saw the new Elvis movie with Austin Butler. And now I'm watching. I actually know that guy. I'm the second coolest guy in the world. I know knew Elvis Presley. But that new movie showed my wife. This is what it was like. There was a documentary about David Cassidy one time, and I said to my producer on the radio, the last radio show, I said, you have to watch this because I don't think you actually know what happened. And he came into work this day and said, nope, I had no idea. 100,000 seats in Wembley Stadium and. Just amazing. The biggest star, he was that day's Elvis. And he used to got, and this is a big thing everybody point out, he got more fan mail than Elvis and the Monkees combined.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a wow. I did not get that.
What was your first paid gig?
Roman meal bread. I was 4. And the bit was, I was a little tiny, redheaded, adorable kid, real skinny. And I had the guy that played my brother was kind of a big, sloppy kid. Outweighed me by 60, 70 pounds. And that was the thing. While he made his sandwich on Roman meal bread, I made a towering sandwich, and he made a little petite sandwich. I don't know what the joke was with that, but that was my first one. And I had to do takes over and over again. I never thought about not taking a big bite. So I turned around and I threw up in a bucket. And they said, okay, we got to get a nurse. And I said, no, I'm fine. I puked. It's all good. And I went around, and a guy said to me, he said, you're a trooper, kid. And I thought, he's right. And
you're a method actor.
I had this on my mind at this time because it was so cool. I'm doing some ridiculous wrestling show at behest of Hulk Hogan. And got a bunch of other has-beens on it, and we're wrestling. Has-beens on ice. And we're doing it, so we do the first scene where we wrestle really hard, and I've picked up a persona. I'm in a black leather trench coat and sunglasses, which I only take off to fight. And so they go, all right, we'll be back with the results of the first match. So I go away, and I come back, and I call them. They're all going down the line, and I now am bleeding from the eyebrow down through my face. Not a big level, but there's no missing blood dripping from behind my sunglasses. And we do the scene, and it's over, and Hulk Hogan says, how'd you get that blood on your face? And I said, I took a nail that I found backstage, and I opened it up, and he goes, kid, you have missed your calling.
Oh.
That's a good compliment, man.
That's a really good compliment from
Not
Hulk.
a great story for children. Oh, yeah, so I caught
But it's
myself
also,
the
it's a brilliant move.
Yeah, I thought so.
That genius level move.
And well, thank you. It was the stem throat. Well, it may not have been going on already, but I was on the radio and I said something drastic about Carmen Electra. I said, that's the most beautiful girl that I would never sleep with. And they said, why? And I said, come on, what's that guy's name? The basketball player?
Oh, Rodman.
Rodman, that's Rodman.
Yeah.
I said, that guy's got to be just riddled with disease. Yeah. I'm going, and he calls up.
Rodman calls up?
Yes. And he said, this, and I quote, he said, I'm going to come down there and beat the white off you. Now, I don't know what that means.
Wow.
But it sounded like a real
That
challenge.
sounds serious.
It sounds painful.
So he started talking about how he's going to come down, park his car, walk into my studio and beat me up on the air, which I'd have prayed for. Win or lose. Come on, Dennis Rodman kicks your ass live on the air. I'm going to demand more money the second it's over. So then it turns out that Rodman is a good friend of Hulk Hogan, so he's in the wrestling match. And he's not, much like celebrity boxing, there's just no rules. So whatever happened, he was going to win. I didn't know that when I was doing it. But it was a wild show. Again, riddled with steroids. I looked beautiful, man. But the kid that played, what was his name? On Saved by the Bell, real geeky guy.
The
Screech.
Screech.
Yeah.
Screech was great, man. And I mean, that's apparently his favorite hobby in the whole world. And he was really, really good at it. He probably should have won. And then Hulk Hogan said this weird thing to some other wrestler. Well, I was not into wrestling. He said, apparently, Bonaduce doesn't feel pain, which I thought, this is not going to end well. These are crazy people. That's what they do. They give you the bumps. That's what they're called. And you might not want to be a jabroni. Okay. But this guy beat me left to right, man. A really hardcore thing. And I thought, you should be an expert in not hurting people. Isn't that the real? But I never admitted that, that really hurt. I'm going to quit. So I went through it all the way. And I really expected to win because I didn't know the Dennis Rodman thing yet. Apparently he was born to win some things.
How long did that whole celebrity wrestling and boxing and...
It was a good couple of years.
Yeah?
It was a good couple of years. I made money. I made more money doing weird stuff like that than I ever made in the Partridge Family. $400 a week, 26 weeks a year, that's it.
It's much tougher work getting the shit beat out of you.
It's easier.
Well,
I'm good at it.
And Madden probably hardly ever beat you up on during
Ruben, not once.
Ruben couldn't swing he couldn't make a fist.
How, through the years, did you stay in contact with everybody from the show?
Sort of. I mean, I saw Shirley Jones a couple of times. This is a weird thing. I told my father-in-law, I don't know what we were talking about. I said, listen, if I ever agree to do one of those autograph shows, you have the permission to shoot me. And he said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. If you ever see me in a fanny pack, you can shoot me. So someday, somebody offered me a lot of money. And I said, well, I'm not in a position to say no. I got to go do this autograph show. And I'm sitting there, and I got Academy Award winners on both sides of me. Shirley Jones is doing it. She's not only doing it, she's got a stack of books she's willing to sell you too. Pictures, $20. It's obscene. But I got Shirley Jones and her Academy Award there, and Martin Landau and his Academy Award over there. And I'm in the middle, and I said, this is not as hokey as I thought. This is semi-respectable. And the guy, and I Google everything. I come off like I'm really smart because I Google everything I hear of any kind of interest. I walk in this room, and there's William Shatner. He's doing it. I know for a fact he's 90 and has $200 million. What are you doing here? You're here for the accolades. I was here for the money and kind of embarrassed I was doing it, but well, all the Academy Award winners and the $200 million guy do it, I can do it. So I did, and I like to talk money, by the way. I made like $7,000 in a week of cash money, which I declared. If you're out there listening, I did.
Of course you did. Of course. And there's the Star Trek connection, by the way.
There you go. Every show.
There's a frequent Star Trek connection in all of our...
Really?
Yeah.
Show him your wrist. Show him your wrist.
No, really.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're a lunatic.
Yeah, I am.
I didn't know.
Well, that's exactly what my wife said when I got that
60
tattoo.
episodes before somebody called him on it.
Although
I take that as a great compliment coming from one lunatic to another.
Well, I will match you, and I'm going to get a little undressed here, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
I was in Seattle.
This is why we should do video on this podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you can
Do we have a sketch artist?
I enjoyed my stay in Seattle so much and so early on that I did. Can you help me with this?
Yeah. Yep.
He was
Patrick
touching me.
is taking off Danny's shirt. Holy moly.
Look at the Space Needle over here.
That's an entire landscape of...
it's the whole downtown.
Yeah.
Wow. It looks like the opening of Frasier on your back.
I do.
Phoebe Newworth was standing right there. Wow.
Well, you know what? I had hoped that me taking my clothes off would be a bigger event than it turned out to be. No, nobody even turned, man.
Few people left.
Nobody even
You've not been to Little Bar. This happens a lot.
You know, they're serving food in here. Yeah, they're serving food in here, Danny. that was it. That's literally the first back tattoo we've had.
To get that tattoo? Because it's your entire back.
Took 3 sittings of about 4 hours apiece.
Wow.
Yeah.
The people in Seattle must have gone crazy for that.
They enjoyed it, but as you know from this very moment, we're on the radio.
Look at my tattoo.
You should see my tattoo. I'm going to rub it up against the microphone. Do you feel it?
So you could have actually not gotten it and just told them you did.
I could have. I never, ever, not once did that. If you heard me saying it, it's something that really happened. There are 2 ways about it.
It really happened. That's amazing. It's very good artwork, by the way.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Was that a single artist that did it?
Yeah. I don't remember his name, but it was actually, I kind of yelled at him because it was supposed to be bigger. It was supposed to, at the bottom of it, it was supposed to connect by water, by the sound. And he didn't bother to do that. And then he went out of business, and such is life.
Thank God it was done.
Yeah. So, why? What does the Star Trek Enterprise do for you?
I like the message. I like the optimism. I like the adventure part of it as well.
Cool.
And I like... I love Shatner.
You should love Shatner. He's so much fun.
I've interviewed him a couple times. I've met him. He doesn't really like. He's kind of an introvert.
You'd be surprised. Yeah. He and I've known him 50 years, I guess. It started out.
How did you meet William Shatner?
In a karate class, believe it or not. And he was pretty good at it too. At one point he was going to break boards for.
That's how he started like this.
And nobody ever does. You're doing chop hands. That doesn't exist. There's no chop hands. When 007 of those, Goldfinger would fall to the floor. There's not. No. There's none of that. But anyway, he was relatively good at karate, and I saw him somewhere relatively recently. And I went on my whatever it is that people go on their computers, was it TikTok or
Instagram,
X, whatever it was. And I said, I've known William Shatner most of my life, and today, for the very first time, I worked up the courage to call him Bill. And in 5 seconds, there was one that text back to me. He says, well, that's great. Never do it again.
You got a response.
I did. Oh, yeah.
His documentary's coming out here.
Yeah, it's called
soon.
Ironically, it's called You Can Call Me Bill.
You Can Call Me
No.
That's the name of the movie.
I'm the one. The little letters underneath. Everybody but Danny.
You can call me Bill. Not you, Danny.
It's kind of the way I feel now.
But I like it. It's special because you're singled out.
I always feel special when that time comes. When William Shatner says a threatening message to me, my day is complete.
You were born and raised in Pennsylvania?
I was born in Pennsylvania. I was raised in Los Angeles.
So how did you get out of Pennsylvania?
My dad wrote an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and it was on, man. Because you got to know, Dick Van Dyke is regarded as one of the very best sitcoms ever. And my dad worked at the Philadelphia Zoo. He was a zoo man. And he wrote this script for the Dick Van Dyke Show. I think it was called Give Me Back My Watch. And he wrote it, and he put it in an envelope, and he sent it to them. And they run a letter back with the same envelope sealed, or an envelope sealed. And he said, we are legally obligated to not look at the script sent in. You have to have an agent and legal, blah, 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 blah. And then they said, it's like Bill in the little tiny letters saying to everybody, Danny. They said, except for you, Joe Bonaduce, we would like you to move out here in California. We'll pay for everything, and you'll be a writer. And we did. Wow. So we packed up the truck and moved to Beverly.
So they clearly read his script.
Yes, clearly.
We'll move to Beverly Hills.
And we did. We moved to the Valley, but we moved to Woodland Hills, close enough. And he kept writing and really had some real success with it. Before the stroke, he was a busy writer, but at the end of the day, he was a producer and writer and story editor. He made it. Like, I tell people that are going to move to Hollywood and they're going to make it big time. I say, what a stupid mistake. The chances you're going to hit by lightning and bitten by a shark on the same day. That's the odds of you becoming famous.
Sharknado. I saw that movie.
And then I knew a guy who did it. He went to school with me, and I had a famous school. I had a classmate, not much bigger than another table like this, 12 students in the class. And one of them was Michael Jackson. I was like, that's weird. And when he passed away, somebody offered me $60,000 for my yearbook. And I said, who keeps those things? I was very upset. But, yeah, that was a big deal working with Mike. Here's the only time I really talked to him. I knew him before, but he didn't say anything in class. It was just weird that he never spoke. Like a quiet kid's a quiet kid, but this was weird. And so he was going to the office for something. I think it was in Aspen. And he passed by and I said, hey, Mike. And he looked at me like, oh, Michael. He did not like Mike.
Ooh.
And, he didn't say that. He didn't say anything. And I said, listen, how come you never speak? And he said, because I'm in constant remembrance of God. And I said, yeah, but what about chicks? And that was the last time we spoke. That was it for me and Michael Jackson.
The last time I spoke to Michael Jackson. What about chicks?
Yeah, what about chicks?
I love
treading
that.
on territory he didn't want to go to.
Yeah, probably.
Clearly.
So since you came to the desert,
remembrance of God. Can't think about chicks.
No, who's got that kind of time?
since you came to the desert,
Yeah.
you guys have, as we talked about, you've gotten involved with everything. Last week, I saw you sitting at a table with a giant fish head in front of you.
the tuna show.
What was that all
It
about?
was awesome. My wife would eat sushi 7 days a week if it was off return. But got to put a halter on that, for God's sakes. There's a place called Joyce's Sushi. I don't know what part of town it's in.
It's in Rancho Mirage. It's right by the Gelsons.
Yes, it is. Right. Yes, it is. Thank God.
Joyce's Sushi. Yeah.
So we hear, and it's like my wife's favorite place. We hear they do a tuna show on whatever day, and they've got this 280-pound tuna sitting up on the bar, and they cut its head off first thing. And it's a huge head. And then everybody takes pictures. I took a picture of it and put it on Amy's Twitter, whatever it is, and you think, I have a big head. So that was fun. That was fun. We watched it, and there were a lot of super friendly people around here are friendly.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they really are. People are really nice.
Talk
I
about
noticed
big heads.
you were trying all the date shakes.
Yeah.
So that's a love-hate, really. Some people love them, some people not so much. Where would you fall on the date shake?
I'm constantly on a diet since I moved here because I've always been kind of thick, if you will. And I don't know where I was, but there was a pool party, just a bunch of guys. And there was this one guy, he was beautiful, man. He was lean and mean, and he's wearing, they're called boy cut shorts. Does that ring a bell?
No.
I don't know either. What's that guy wearing? Little tiny boy shorts. You could get away with it. And I said, I want to be the guy in the boy shorts. So I've been dying. And I'm close. I'm 157, which is the lightest I've been since high school. One day soon, you'll be driving down the main street and you'll go, hey, that redhead guy in a little tiny pair of shorts, that's Danny Bonaduce.
That's right.
And that's why I know I
and
have
I
won.
won't be able to unsee that.
Yes, man. You know, because I've got bright red hair at 64 and a tattoo of Seattle on my
You
back.
can't
You'll
miss
know
the
it's me.
tattoo.
Yeah, you got to go shirtless when you wear those shorts.
Damn right. I
Oh
do.
yeah. So, are you just enjoying life right now? Or are you starting to work on anything?
I do a couple of things. You ever heard of Cameo?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a weird thing, man.
Yeah.
I'm on it by my wife. I don't know how to do that kind of stuff.
She does she kind of took over and just said, you need someone who's going to manage all this stuff.
You know, when we first started going, very first, and I've said this to more than one woman, I said, will you take care of me? And she said, yes. And it was on. Because I don't know how to do stuff. I know they're going to seem pathetic. I actually have an idea for a show called Travel Wife. Because I want to travel, and I don't know. I'm married to my wife. I don't know how to do it. When I was with the Partridge family, everything was done for me. Plane tickets, hotel, whatever I was doing for the Partridge family. And then I was a huge has-been for years, and I didn't work at all. And so that's not too hard to arrange, not working. And then I started doing radio.
I can plan a day when I'm not doing
Right.
anything.
So, and then I started to do radio, which is just the lifesaver. That's the one that did me. And matter of fact, a producer on the other half, we're doing an episode on sexless marriages. So I volunteer. Usually it's just be guests. And I said, no, I'll do it. I believe myself to be in a sexless marriage, which God, at the end, my wife just hated me so much. And rightly so. It's like my dad. Okay, you suck, but I'll hang in for 17 years and 2 lovely kids.
So it wasn't entirely sexless.
Close enough.
They were both yours.
Yes, as far as one even has the audacity to look like me. So after the show was over, producer was so pretty in my book. I loved this girl. She was so great. But I didn't love her. I never even spoke to her, really. As I'm leaving for our Christmas break or whatever it is, she walks up to my car. We're at a Mexican restaurant in Burbank, right across the street from the studios. We're all there. It's a big party. And I go to leave, and she comes up to my car and says, I'm quitting the show. And I don't know why she told me, because I never really spoke to her. And I said, why? She said, because I believe I'm falling in love with you. And I said, everybody says that. And she did not think I was as funny as I thought I was. So we started having a horrifying affair. Well, is my wife listening? No, it's great. So good. But this is a different wife. I've never cheated on this wife, and I'm proud of that.
And how long have you been married?
I've been married, she's weird about this. Hey, honey, how long have we been married and the other years you want credit for?
13 years.
Yeah, 13 years. 17 years together, she once said. And interestingly enough, you might have noticed I've been sober 13 years. My ex-wife, I said, this pill that I take, I said, all you got to do is put it in my mouth. Because what I would do is I'd put it in an aspirin bottle and then take something else, and it wasn't working out. And I said, just got to give me this pill every day, put it right in my mouth. And she said, I am not your mother. And that turned out to be a very costly mistake, because I said to my wife, I said, you got to put this thing right in my mouth. And she said, absolutely. And I'm going to watch you. I want photographs of you taking it. And I did it, and it's a real handy way to be sober.
It's great.
Yeah, thank you.
If it works.
It does. One of those A things. It works if you work it, so work it. Man, they have a lot of sayings. Yeah, I was going to hassle you guys.
That's why you left the meetings. It's like, this is too many sayings.
Well, the last AA meetings that I went to regularly was at a bar called the Key Club on Sunset Strip, and it was sometimes you have to move the cases of beer off your chair
to have your AA meeting.
And it was. And by the way, if you go, you're not supposed to mention AA or anybody in it. Well, A, bite me. I'll do what I want. And two, if you're a big rock star and you've talked about being drunk, I'm not going to hesitate to talk about you being drunk. What is the point there? So one day I was sitting there, and it was a popular meeting. Some guy goes, yeah, you, and the guy goes, yeah, my name's John. Oh. We all turn and go, no, it's not your Ozzy. Everybody knows you're Ozzy. Why are you trying to John stuff? And then Matthew Perry, who turned out to be like the sweetest guy. I actually have very good stories about him. Not that entertaining, but good. Some of us at that meeting would go out on Sunset Boulevard because it was a tour stop now. Everybody was famous in this place. And so...
and did everybody know that everybody was in there at those meetings?
Yeah. My wife's father, who was in there with us, he sat down to Miss America and just turned on the charm. It was amazing. So Matthew and I, when it first started... I'm sorry. It was somebody else with their own sitcom. We would sit outside this meeting and drink out of flasks and wait to see how long it took to get in the tabloids. We thought it was a very fun game.
Oh, man. Oh, I can't believe the stories we got today.
Are you raising your hand?
Good.
You're the
John wants to
producer,
chime in.
right? Hey, John, I'm Danny. Pleasure, sir. What's up? Oh, I thought you were waving your hand. Is that something you do? Oh, I thought he either wants to say something, he wants to high-five me, or this thing is almost over. I was the latter. Okay.
It was the
It's the first time he's done that in 60 episodes.
Well,
None of us knew what was happening.
I bring out the activity. Look at John. You can see he's ready to run a marathon now. He's been electrified by this podcast.
Well, I can't wait to run into you at Joyce's. That sounds like an amazing thing to watch.
It was really fun. So you'll find me there or at Lulu's, which on the commercials they pronounce it Lulu, no S. You'll find it at Lulu. Weird.
It's a Lulu, California bistro.
Yeah. Apparently,
but everybody calls it Lulu.
Lulu, yeah.
Jerry's fighting it up. Jerry Keller, the owner, is fighting an uphill battle on that. He's like, it's Lulu. And I'm like, no one's going to call it that.
I come, I spend my money, I'll call it what I want. If you want to remove the apostrophe S, have at it.
Do you find being around the valley that you can move around pretty well without being accosted or?
Well, thank you, but you've got me confused with a really famous guy.
Well, I knew who you were when you walked in.
Well, people do in fact know, but yes, to answer your question, yeah, but I wasn't getting inundated with autograph seekers in Hollywood. And, when I was 11, I think, I forget what magazine, Time, News, whatever it was, did most 100 famous people in America, and I was like number 20 at 11. Come on. It's been a wild ride, man. And I'm into it totally. You want a picture with me? Here's my rule. At 11, I had a rule. I said, don't ask me for an autograph while I'm eating dinner with my family. Now, come, sit down, have a nosh for God's sake.
Take a bite off my plate.
Tell me how famous I was and you grew up with me. I'll dig that all day long, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
And my wife and I have a game. We play a million friggin' games. But one is, hey, you're famous at. And sometimes we're at a place like this, and then somebody will come up and say, hey, aren't you Danny Partridge? I'll say, yeah, and as they walk away, my wife's like, famous the little bar. So that's what we do.
There you go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Tell me, you met your wife at a Starbucks.
Yes, I did.
Tell us that story.
I will. Thank you very much. So I'm standing in a line at Starbucks on, Santa Monica in Vermont, I think. I'm not sure. And I'm in a line, and I see this girl, and she's looking at me. And she starts to march or walk. I don't know how my wife would feel marching. She's walking across the floor ever so gracefully. And I know what she wants. She's going to say, hey, you're that guy. You were in the Partridge. I grew up watching it, although she's 23 years younger than I. But she comes up, and I'm ready. I'm ready to do it and write whatever you want on your arm or anywhere else. And she says, you know, and I'm thinking, I do know. I totally know. Of course I know.
Danny.
I'm Danny Bonaduce. And she says, I really enjoyed your book. And as I mentioned earlier, that was difficult for me. I was really drunk at the time. I don't know. Was I under indictment on steroids? And this story is scarred to make something. I think I was just fine and wanted some coffee. But she said, I really liked your book. And I said, will you marry me? And she said, ha, 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 walked away, not knowing that I married 2 people on the first date in the past. I married both my previous wives that day. And she was having none of it. She said, I'm not joining that crowd. We went out for years, I think. I don't know really. But I think it was a couple of years, appropriate time, and then we got married. And it's been going very well.
And that seemed like a better way to do it.
It did seem like
Wait till the second date.
Well, the first one didn't really count. She needed a green card, and I said, I'm not doing anything. Okay. Yeah. So I married her.
I'm not doing anything. Well, I've got some time.
Really, the thing was, I remember you mentioned that I was a black belt. Well, I'm actually a 3rd degree black belt. And at 2nd degree, you're getting older. You can't do the fancy things that kids do. So it becomes a lot about your dedication. So I learned to speak okay Japanese. And then I met this girl who was working in one of my favorite restaurants, and I could get enough of the conversation in Japanese that she was terrified about getting deported.
Oh, and you married her?
Yep, on the spot. Well, not on the spot. We went down to Venice Beach and got married by a Zulu priestess. Beat that.
Wow.
Okay. And then I married
I wouldn't even try.
I married my second wife, having a lovely first date, and I put the moves on her. She said, I'm sorry, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier. I won't have sex with you until I'm married. And I said, fair deal. Let's do that. We called a minister out of the phone book, and we're married for the next 17 years. And if I hadn't been such a drunken maniac, I think that would still be happening. She was a fine woman, and I just got too drunk and stupid at the end.
Wow.
Yeah. Drunk and Stupid, that's my next radio show. Ladies and gentlemen, here goes. It's Danny Partridge and Drunk and Stupid.
We've given him his next radio show title and his next book title, which was Cheap Tequila, Good Vodka.
I cannot believe you remember this. This has been a racehorse of an interview and talking to you guys. I can't believe you could remember that. Thank you. You're paying good attention to me.
And John's ready to dump us to start the show.
I know, he wants, it sounds like if I could hitch my wagon to Danny Bonaduce, forget Patrick and Randy, we're out.
This is
Big Conversations with Danny.
Wow.
I think is going to be the...
I'll tell you guys, are we really wrapping it up, John?
Yeah.
Okay. This has really been fabulous. Very good time. Thank you.
This has been fabulous for us. Thank you for doing this.
You're more than welcome. It's
Randy,
great.
Congratulations. This is a big get.
This is fantastic. And Amy said at the time that you were a little burned out on podcasts, but you were interested in doing something local.
Yes, absolutely. And totally true.
Doesn't get any more local.
Like I said, if you want to come to my table and eat my food and I'll sign whatever you want. I want people to know I'm in Palm Springs, for God's sakes.
Danny's in Palm Springs, and he's going to be at Joyce's Sushi just a little bit later on.
There's going to be a ton of pictures with me sitting down at Danny's table, eating food and getting an autograph.
No, there's probably going to be a ton of pictures of Danny eating and you standing in a corner.
That's true. With a cop.
Not you.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you. I can't tell.
You are incredibly famous. Alan Horwitz, our in-house counsel, you and his stepson were hanging out when you were kids.
The man was kind of slipped me a note that I had to come here, so I haven't even read it yet. But it's actually, I guess, a note from that particular gentleman. Can't wait to hear it.
Thank you so much, Danny.
Again, my absolute pleasure.
Wildly entertaining, and I know we've just kind of scratched the tip of the iceberg here, but we really appreciate you being a great sport and just coming on and chatting with us.
Like kind of a weird thing to do, scratch the edge of a glacier. What was it?
Yeah, it's a weatherman term mainly.
Oh, okay, right. Well, again, all right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
Danny Bonaduce, ladies and gentlemen, right here on Big Conversations Little Bar. My thanks to John McMullen, our great producer.
John.
Incredible thanks to
Danny's future producer.
That's right,
John McMullen.
We'll be hearing from Danny, and probably not us. There may not be another episode of Big Conversations Little Bar.
We may or may not be back.
Well, it's been a damn good run, Randy.
A little twist. How about Big Conversations Little Cell? And we'll go back to when I used to get arrested for stuff. People love that. I get more press from being arrested. I may do it again. You never know.
Well, I'm really trying to avoid.
A couple of stories before we started rolling. Like, you'll pretty much do anything. Like, your wife says you're not really going to do it. You said, oh, no.
I don't know why I was talking to Yoko Ono, but I get your point. But yeah, no, it's not really, I'm kidding when I say I just want people to know that I'm in Palm Springs. And then you think about it, no, that's totally what I want.
He wants people to...
I want people to go, yo, Dan, as I'm walking down the street. That's what I want. I didn't do all this stuff for nothing. I want to be rich, and it's not working out really that great. But I also want to be famous, and people say they don't want to be famous are liars. So I dig it.
when you see Danny, if you see a guy and you think, that looks maybe like the guy from the Partridge, it is.
Yeah.
Yo Dan.
And who knows what's going to happen to him.
And he will take a picture with you because he's a very gracious guy and he enjoys his fans. And I think that's a real testament to someone who knows what they're doing in this business.
You're very kind. Thank you very much.
And being on this podcast, I mean,
maybe one of the worst career decisions you ever made, but we are greatly appreciative.
Bad decisions.
you've done wonderful. This has been big for us.
You're right.
No matter what happens here,
it's not even close to the worst decision you've made.
If we all just burst into flames, it's not the worst. Are you kidding?
It's actually really near the top of the list, honestly. I mean, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you all for listening. We'll drop another episode real soon. You can listen wherever you find your favorite podcast. And please go to bigconversationslittle.bar.com. You can subscribe and get all of this incredible content. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Big Conversations Little Bar. Recorded on location at Skip Paige's Little Bar in Palm Desert, California, the center of the Coachella Valley Universe. This program is a production of the Mutual Broadcasting System. All episodes are available from bigconversationslittle.bar.com or from most major podcast portals, including Apple, Spotify, and Amazon Music.